Hello there, and thank God it's Friday. Welcome and thank you for joining us on the show. These are the stories we are tracking at this time. President Tinubu inaugurates an NPC board, asks them to consolidate on ongoing economic gains. Regional Maritime Development Bank begins operations after 16 years of establishment. Wall Street stocks end mostly flat in choppy trade as Treasury yields ease. Well, let's get to our first report. President Bola Tinubu now is urging the new Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited's board to consolidate the gains of the ongoing economic reforms which have attracted commendations from the resilience and competitiveness of the Nigerian economy. President Tinubu said this in the inauguration of the board of an NPCL at the State House, disclosing that he selected the board members painstakingly to ensure quality leadership. Told the board that the volatility in the world's economy would require looking inwards for solutions, and Nigerians would depend on repositioning of the NPCL. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Heineke Lokpobiri, thanked the president for assembling the team. He described them as the best in Africa. Let's get to our first conversation. The Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, CAPA, has urged Nigerian government to increase the tax tariff on sugar-sweetened beverages. Executive Director of CAPA, Mr. Akimbode Oluwafemi, stated this in Kano during the opening of a two-day workshop on journalism training on sugar-sweetening beverages, tax and industry monitoring. Mr. Oluwafemi, who decried the health damage being done to Nigerians by SSB companies, lamented that what he described as the extremely low threshold of the tax, which he has rendered ineffective, and false narratives of the SSB industries and lack of transparency in how the revenue from the tax is expended by government. Well, Professor Godfrey Omojefe is a management and investment analyst. He joins me via Zoom to discuss more on this burning issue. Thank you so much, Prof. Good afternoon. It's good to have you on the show. Good afternoon, Prof. Can you hear me? Good afternoon, Prof. Can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon. I can hear you, Tolu.
Yes, I said there has been a lot of talks lately about sugar and health in Nigeria. Why do you believe that there is a mismatch in all of this argument?
Sincerely speaking, there is no overconsumption of sugar as far as the Nigerian economy is concerned. The narrative that there is sugar consumption in Nigeria is not based on any empirical facts or any empirical data. For you to be able to conclude on such, there must be data that shows. In fact, according to the World Health Organization, WHO, the WHO have set a limit that is of consumption, 25 grams per day for each individual, and that is the threshold. And if you look at the data published by WHO itself, Nigeria is, of course, just within 22 to 27 grams per day. And as a result of this, I feel that Nigeria is not having problems with sugar. You know, in fact, if you look at categorization, there are countries that fall in within severe, alarming, moderate, manageable, and safe, position. And of course, Nigeria falls in within that safe bracket. So conclusively, I want to say that we are not Egypt. We are not South Africa. We are not the United States. Nigeria, therefore, is not drowning in sugar, as some clients will always want to claim. Thank you.
Now, CAPA argues that higher taxes on sugary drinks will help reduce obesity and NCDs. What will be your response to that?
CAPA, of course, is an acronym. I would need to say for Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa. This is an organization that have been very foremost in helping grassroots activities and all that. But with the template that CAPA is having on this issue on sugar is not that palatable, because they are using a global, health model. And global health model can never help any country. We need to be country specific. Look at the things, critically, and then it will help you better, rather than looking at a global scanning. Like, for instance, if you look at the World Health Organization's record, you see that the United States, of course, is topping the list of sugar consumption with about 126.4 grams per day. And that is not the case with Nigeria, which is very far behind. And of course, we see that most Nigerians are not obese. We are not obese at all. If you look at the Nigerian economy, people are really normal. What is the problem? Is a problem of what? Malnutrition, and not problem of sugar, as it were. Of course, obesity and the NCD, of course, are multi-factors that needed to be looked into, and not just looking at the SSB alone. So many other factors can attribute to obesity and, NCD diseases, that is non-communicable diseases. Okay. Now, countries that have that are very high in obesity, they are not within our region. For instance, we have Somia somewhere close to New Zealand and Hawaii in the Oceania, okay, that is in the Pacific. They are the highest, country with level of obesity. The country with the highest level of obesity in the world, number 1. And of course, the United States, ranging about number 16 in terms of obesity. But Nigeria is not in that category. Nigeria's data is about, we're about the 155th nation, okay, in terms of ranking of obesity, out of 191 countries that the World Health Organization have listed, in terms of obesity. So therefore, the report of CAPA is not really the case, as it were, because you cannot only just use SSBs alone to judge. Because therefore, I say that you cannot fix, okay, you cannot fix malnutrition and poverty by taxing soda. You can never fix malnutrition and poverty by taxing soda. It is just like using a hammer, instead of using a microscope. So you need to use a microscope to scan properly before you take your decisions. Thank you.
All right, moving forward now, beyond health, what are the economic consequences of raising the SSB tax, in your thoughts, Prof?
The SSB tax, in fact, we know that we already have about, for the first time, the tax was introduced, and it is now 10 naira per liter, okay? But CAPA is advocating that it should be increased to 113 naira per liter. And of course, that will have serious, economic consequences for Nigerians, because that tax hike is invariably very high, okay? That's about 13%. If you use, formulas to compute growth, of course, a growth margin, you'll see that it is about 13%. And it is not easy to now levy, these SSBs, 13%, raising it from 10% to, from 10 naira to 113 naira. Therefore, we are saying that it's going to have serious impact, okay, on small businesses as well as street vendors. It's also going to risk, employment, job employment for those in the sugar industry. A lot of people will lose their jobs, particularly from the farm to factory. It's going to affect them adversely. Besides that, it will even affect we don't also need to undermine what government is also doing, because government is also pumping so much money, investing in sugar. Look at, for instance, NSDC and the NSMP. NSDC, of course, is the Nigerian Sugar Development Council. So this council, of course, has been brought into the Act of Parliament since 1993. And they've been having, sugar plants over the years. Sugar plant 1 has been phased out, and they are now on plant 2. And government is pumping so much money to see that they actually increase the production of sugar. So if that be the case, what happens? It's going to affect, businesses. When government, on the one hand, because it's now a contradictory thing, government on the one hand is pumping money into a project of sugar, and at the same time is trying to task, the SSBs for using this, for producing sugar goods. And therefore the question is, who is driving this policy, this policy? Who is driving this policy? Those driving this policy have to really take a critical look, empirical look, statistical look from all over the world before they take their final decisions.
But let me ask you that in my research, what about countries like Mexico and UK? Haven't sugar taxes worked there?
Okay, for Mexico and the UK, I really want to say that Claudia Sheinbaum is doing pretty well, is doing very well in Mexico. But we cannot actually compare what is happening there. In Mexico, for instance, their sugar intake per day is very high. That is within about 92.5 grams per day. And the United Kingdom is about 93.8, which means they are almost in the same bracket, consumption of sugar. And so if you look at these two countries, how can you now compare it with Nigeria, that is just 22.27 grams per day? So, like I said earlier, Nigeria is, of course, is on the safe threshold of sugar consumption, whereas Mexico and the United Kingdom, they are on the severe threshold of sugar consumption. So therefore, you cannot really, bring the two together and make any serious comparison, because we are not at par.
Okay, Prof. Now, if not sugar taxes, then what alternative do we have?
There are quite a lot of solutions that can be, preferred. The list is not exhaustive, but I'll just prefer at least 3 solutions in the interim. One, I feel that we need to promote nutritional education. We need to promote nutritional education at the primary level, the secondary school level, and also the tertiary levels. Once we do this and educate these students, of course, we realize that we are going to gain a lot. Secondly, we need to also think about encouraging physical activities. And this, of course, can be done through the urban planning agencies, where they can at least ensure that stadiums, fields, walkways, and better places of recreation are set and are put in place, so that citizens, of course, can continue to go there, burn off all these calories that they are having, and that will help in a long way. And at the same time, we also need to support. My third solution is that we need to support our local, SSBs. Give them the necessary work tools that they need, and more importantly, help them so that they can have a reformulation of their recipes for these beverages that they are pushing out. And although some of them have started doing something tremendous, something fantastic, that is, there are those who are reducing the level of sugar in their products, like we have those that have zero sugar in their products, okay? And of course, with this, it will go a long way to help the beverage industry. So in conclusion, I'm saying we need to put in place policies, okay, that will educate the people, policies that will help the SSBs, and of course, not policies that will punish these SSBs. Thank you.
Finally, before I let you go, Prof, what's your final message to, of course, policymakers and the public with regards to this development?
Yeah, for policymakers, I feel there are a lot of things to be done health-wise. And I just really think that policymakers should ensure that they visit other countries, okay, where the sugar intake is low. For instance, like I said before, Egypt is topping the list in Africa. Then we have Ethiopia. Ethiopia is a very good example of countries that are not having sugar. In fact, Ethiopia has about 3.13. No, sorry, in terms of obesity, for instance, when the World Health Organization is trying to rank, they rank Ethiopia as having 3.13. And then even Burkina Faso is having obesity level of just about 7.08. So that shows that these countries are good. So therefore, our policymakers should make sure that they visit those countries and see what is making them have this, this magic. At the same time, we have to visit or ask our local, health experts, those in the health sectors, indigenous health experts, who of course will be able to, give proper solution to Nigerians' problem because they know Nigerians' reality. Instead of just leaving this to the hands of, foreigners, we need our experts. We have quite a lot of experts on these health issues that can be engaged to really help us to bring Nigerian things into reality. So trying to, allow people to just, bring headline, charts, and trying to reduce Nigeria to a country that is consuming sugar in excess, we need this fabrication not to continue. Because if not, once it is continued like that, without being backed up by empirical data, it becomes a problem for us. So on the whole, therefore, I want to say that we don't need to call a dog a bad name, okay? We don't need to call a dog a bad name, just, to hang it up and allow the enemies to now, to now say, yes, this country is bad, because that is a strategy of some other countries to demean our own nation. So we must put the right policy in place. Don't be carried away by all those multinational, all those foreign, people trying to bring in some things that are alien to the Nigerian economy. Bring local experts. So on this note, I thank you very much.
Prof Godfrey Omojefe, interesting chat today, I must say. Management and investment analyst. Thank you so much for joining us. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great weekend and hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
All right, then. Well, still to come on the show today, we will do some further analysis on the retention of the